Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you for joining us today for the webinar on replacing VPNs and how to basically deploy zero trust network access. Uh, so let's give a minute more and then we can get started as we are seeing a lot of folks joining us a little bit more now. Penny, you can see the slides, right?
Yes, I can.
Okay, let's get started. So my name is Dheeraj, and I work in the product and solution marketing and product management team in Versa Networks, and I am focused on the zero trust network access portfolio of Versa. With me, I have Patty. Patty, would you like to say something about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm a senior solutions architect at Versa Networks. Pretty much, yeah, I've been in networking industry for almost quite a long time, network security for almost 30 years. Yeah, go ahead, Dheeraj. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, so today's webinar, after what we have talked to so many of your folks out there, what we have heard is like a lot of you are in process of upgrading your technology or looking at the zero trust solutions out there and upgrading the technology from VPN side of the world. And that's why we are doing this webinar, and we'll walk you through how easy it is to move to zero trust and what are the benefits you will get out of zero trust, which have been inherent deficiencies or gaps in the VPN side of the world. So what we will go through today is current market scenario, day in life with VPN, as shared by your peers in the industry. Then what challenges does VPN create? Because it creates a lot of security, but then there are gaps evolving due to the new technology trends, the cloud usage, the remote device usage, remote user, hybrid work environment, and things along those lines. And that's what brings in the ZTNA. And we'll go through again like the ZTNA with Patty, and then how ZTNA addresses the VPN challenges, and a little bit about like how Versa basically makes life easier with their ZTNA solution. So today's market, what we start to see is there are a lot of cyber attacks which go into the environment, and they basically on paper or on the surface look very harmless, right? Like a ransomware attack can come out as that we have been connected into you, all your files are now under our control, we have basically taken out, and then we need money in exchange to give you the controls back, right? Another fraud which can happen, and it's not just the IT departments, but it's the finance, HR, and others. Supply chain, you can think about it as like, okay, a C-level person is sending you an email like to transfer some money to this random account, and you just go in and do it. Like messages like it's very high priority. And the last one, what we have started to see is like, as an individual, as you're driving around, people try to just hack into your accounts, right? So those type of things. So medium and large enterprises are increasingly becoming target of these cyber attacks. And generally the cyber attack costs between 46,000 to 120,000 according to the new report on small businesses, which is very big number for small businesses. And this number amplifies for a medium-sized enterprise or a larger enterprise. So the way to basically secure, or the traditional way of doing things in creating security, was to go with the VPN side of the world, right? What you can think about is there is a sales team member or there is a radiologist who is remote in a health in a hospital, right? Connects into the data center of the company or an enterprise and goes through VPN. What happens is VPN client initiation happens, then you authenticate the user. There is a tunnel which is established, a VPN tunnel, and then you basically do data encapsulation and encryption, and then you route the traffic to the application. At this destination, decryption and forwarding to the application happens. And what you start to see in such situation is there is a few type of problems you start to see. If there are more applications in this environment, what you can think about is as soon as the person gets access to this application, they can move around. So the attack surface area is increased. It is not confined to one application, the access. And then what you also start to see is if everything is going through this VPN, you can have it becomes an aggregator and bottleneck. You can have more VPNs connected here or VPN hardware, but then now you are basically increasing the cost of creating this routing traffic. And then you can't plan for a peak period. What you have to plan for is a normal usage. But on the peak period, when the business is tight for retail uh, customers or enterprises during Thanksgiving, this thing becomes a choking point, and you have to basically buy more hardware. Okay.
Hey, Dheeraj, can you come closer to the mic? It's not that
Sure.
audible.
Is it better?
Much better. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So the existing security solutions are inadequate, and this is specifically for the VPNs. So one thing what we have started to see is because VPN have been there for a long time, and people have started to now even target VPNs, the software as a vulnerability to basically get into the systems, right? So that is there. And as soon as you get an access, a bad actor can access the entire network, right, with compromised credentials. On the other side, the person who is going in and is a normal employee, because the VPN being aggregator or single point of failure, you have slower connections, you have frequent disconnections, and it doesn't work well for large files until you get a bigger VPN hardware, right, which basically increases the cost. So these are the five challenges which we have heard again and again in regards to the VPNs. One is broad network access. Once connected, legacy VPN often grant users broad access to entire corporate network. It basically falls on the security teams now to get or manage the accessibility of every user within the environment, right? So this is basically if you have 20 applications, now you have to make sure that everything is blocked on those 19 applications and only one gets the access, right? And if a person wants to open, then you have to go that way. The next one is complex management because it's inherently default allow access to every user. So now you have to manage like the accessibility or limited accessibility. Because it's a single point of entry into the data centers, it creates performance bottlenecks and it creates limited visibility because inside the environment, the traffic basically is going everywhere, so you don't know who is coming from. And then the next is the poor user experience. What ZTNA does it flips the script other way around, right? So your remote sales team member basically wants to access the private application. What they do is they first verify the user, then you basically check the endpoint posture, right? Is the person coming from the right operating system which has been validated in the policy? The browser, right? Is there an EDR which is present, which is basically taking care of any type of local threat which can propagate inside, where the person is coming from, all that. Then user authentication happens. And instead of giving access to the entire environment, what you get is least access privilege just to that application, nothing else. It's basically default denied by the nature of zero trust. And then you get contextual monitoring and then security inspection and application access. So application access happening in the third or fourth bullet basically happens in the very last with ZTNA, and that's what makes it more easier to manage. So the basic difference, if you look in this situation, is VPN creates implicit trust. World was safer, trustworthy, I would say more first. So it used to be like, okay, VPN should work, but it created lateral movement of threat type of situation. Like anyone inside can access anything. Data exfiltration was easy, like you get a tunnel and then you can pull it out. Weak security posture because now you have to go and manually control or build policies, and then latency bottleneck. Okay. So in the case of ZTNA, it flips the script other way around, right? It basically prevents lateral movement of threat because you are just going with default deny. So the person only has access to the application. There is reduced attack surface because now the person is only explicitly allowed to look at the app which they are uh, being allowed to, and then you can even control the granular control, like what type of activities they can do in the app. And as you have a very clear vision of who is going where, it's an enhanced security posture because you can do continuous monitoring. And last one is because not everyone is going to try to get in, you have selected the users, you have a better remote user experience because traffic routing to specific applications now can be optimized to the users who need it, right? From the get-go itself. So why are orgs moving to ZTNA? So these are the 5 reasons which we have seen. Unlike VPN, ZTNA, as I said, assumes no implicit trust. It authenticates, it basically even for authenticated users, every access request is continuously verified, right? Versa ZTNA significantly reduces the client attack surface, right? Granular application level access, because now you are giving access to a specific application, you can literally control what type of activity a user can do in the application. And that is what basically makes even a tighter and enhanced security posture, which is the next one. So ZTNA further basically propagates microsegmentation because now you're isolating the application and resources. There is a continuous verification which is going on, helps on the compliance side of the world, and user experience becomes better. Well, with Versa, we do intelligent traffic routing, and we will talk a little bit more about it. But with that, what we do is it's not that, okay, you are just going to go into the nearest cloud gateway and then access. Because what can happen is if you have 100 radiologists or call center people sitting in Florida, it doesn't mean that going to the Florida data center or a cloud gateway is the best way to access something in Illinois. It might be like 50 may go to Florida, 25 may go to South Carolina, and another 25 may go to Illinois directly itself. So intelligent traffic routing with Versa improves the user experience a lot, and also it brings the cost down with respect to network bandwidth, which creates a better visibility and control. So this is how we basically make it happen. First, we check the endpoint posture. Then we obfuscate the secure access, right? So even user doesn't know beyond the point from VCG or Versa Cloud Gateway how they are going to access, because this is obfuscated. So that is an additional layer of security we create. And then internally, we basically, as I talked about, we do intelligence steering. We encrypt the tunnel, so all the data is protected, whichever way you want to go, IPsec, TLS, BTLS. And then we authenticate the user at the cloud gateway. Then we do the continuous zero trust and monitoring. Then we secure the proxy to the application. So this is another secure path further. And then we basically go into the VCG. At this point, we also basically have other services which are inserted. That is about like firewall service or a DLP or a switch. So you can have the entire solution as a SASE solution and then enable all the services which are needed, right? So it's not just at ZTNA. You can have your firewall also enabled. You can have DLP, which will look at all the actions which are going on, and then you have switch. And then the person basically is getting least privilege access, and we scale. And micro-segmentation, because there are many applications, but you're just talking one application. And that's it. So with that, I'll let Patty show you what I talked about. So Patty, over to you.
Right, thanks. So pretty much actually, as you know, as Dheeraj said, what we try to do is basically we have this continuous policy where it keeps on getting evaluated. It checks for location, IP address, device, posted device type, and application, malware, sensitive data. So all of them are continuously evaluated, and at a given point of time, it checks whether what is the access, what is the security profile and what kind of profile it matches, and then it kind of allows the packet based on that, right? So basically, it does hide applications, as Dheeraj said before, from public discovery. It really obfuscates the real IP address with dummy address, and it does a full-time inspection of port and protocol, and little more than that. Also, it does inspection of the application layer, and it continuously monitors the posture at a given point of time. So that's what the whole ZTNA story is, as you know, right? Zero Trust Network Access is all about um, policy enforcement and all the stuff. Let me quickly walk you through the demo. So this is the, let me share my screen real quick. Give me 1 second. Hope you're able to see my screen now. So this is
Yeah.
a VPN client, what we talk about. So in this case, let me quickly walk you through the policy. One of the policies, what we talk about. So this is my tenant. I'm going to load my tenant real quick. If you see here, under this tenant, we have this policy, default policy. As you see right in here, right, the policy is pretty straightforward English. You can say which application this policy would apply to, which user groups you want to access this policy, with endpoint posture check, with geolocations, network layer, layer 3, layer 4 services, and then on the security enforcement point, let's say you want to talk about a specific application, let's say Salesforce here, in this case, SaaS apps or Salesforce apps. Where's my Salesforce? Here you go. And then you select all users or bunch of user groups, then you select endpoint posture. In endpoint posture, what you can really do is you can quickly use a predefined and can, where you can check whether the system has a Mac OS or is a Linux or Android. Do you need any registry entry, any anti-malware you want to set up? So basically, you define the entire security posture for this endpoint, and then you also specify where the users are coming from, geolocations. You want to provide any layer 3, layer 4 services. Under the security enforcement point, you can say what kind of profile you want to use. You want to use easy malware protection, URL filtering, IPS IDS, and all the stuff. So I have one rule where which talks about allow all, but it also has a security enforcement point to basically block all URLs which are like have gambling, abuse, drugs, and whatnot. What I'm going to do is enable my start my VPN, right? But it
I think
ideally,
the gentleman wants to. Can you zoom in more to show it?
yeah. Give me 1 second.
Thank you.
Yeah, is
Yeah,
this better?
absolutely. Ganesh, what do you think?
Great. So let me actually, I'll come back to configurations to make sure you all. So right now we enable the VPN client. So we want to go to any one gambling site. For example, gambling.com. If you see, we have restricted the URL, and then we pretty much actually you see it's blocking, right? I mean, that's what we have seen in here. This is the policy where if you see it's enabled green here, it enable, I mean, it kind of blocks the gambling site, right? So I'm going to disconnect the VPN. Open an incognito window just to make sure it's not cached. But it can work without it also. But let me just try that. Since it's happening on the gateway, if you see, the site is loaded here. So that's as simple as that. Right? The moment we turn on the VPN, ZTNA VPN, it blocks the whole gambling site at the gateway, and we disconnected it. We're able to access it. Let me just from a context perspective, let me go to the configuration panel. As I said, all the applications, you can select applications, application groups, or individual application category, or you can also define a URL categories for this particular policy. And then what you do is to specify which users you want to use. I mean, you can specify, we have all kind of users. I mean, you can pretty much configure the user, in here under the user and device authentication. So if you do that, just give me 1 second. Let me go to the user and device authentication rules. So in here, you can specify all kind of users authentication. You can add an authentication list for the application. But however, the user itself can be defined through profiles. So in here, you can specify, we support all kind of groups, LDAP, SAML, Radius, user certificate, device-based certificate. So in here, you specify whether Okta, Entra. We also support SCIM, which gives you active authentication module instead of passive authentication module. So coming back to the internet protection rules, as I said, you specify which application, application group, endpoint posture, geolocation, network layer 3, layer 4, under security enforcement, what you want to do. So we have security enforcement like easy malware protection, URL filtering, IPS IDS, file filtering, DNS. We also have CASB profile, where you can specify a CASB profile, whether you want to log in, download Salesforce, Google Docs. On all each of the application, you can specify, a CASB profile and associate a CASB profile for that. You can also specify a DLP. You can have a general DLP rule profile, or you can have your own profile for DLP where it does source code, US financials, and all. You can enable ATP as well. Under ATP, you can specify what common type files, HTTP, what file types, and what you want to do based on the action. And then we also have remote browser isolation, where basically a browser instance is evoked. Pretty much the browser loads on the gateway. So if you're going to any malicious sites, wherever is the site which we define, and then actually the whole URL gets executed on the site, and there's a pixel to pixel mapping for us. And the way you enable, there are a bunch of profiles where you specify read-only profile, what you want. You want to sanction apps, unsanctioned apps. So a bunch of stuff you can configure. There's a lot of stuff I've explained in a very short time. Yeah, pretty much any questions, feel free to, let me know. I'm going to stop sharing right now. In the interest of time, you have 6 minutes. Dheeraj, any other questions people have, I can answer. Anybody, any questions?
I don't see questions. The ones which we asked, I think we answered, but more of logistical questions. So we should be good. Yeah, we can go back to the slides.
Yeah. So let me go back to the slides. So in here, pretty much, right, what we say is one decision endpoint. Slide, yeah. So basically what we say, you just saw right now, right? Me as a user, a mobile user, talking to the Versa Cloud Gateway, it allows you to access all the apps based on ZTNA delivered as a service. And then it has, it pretty much is a hassle-free. The software can be downloaded on a mobile client. Authentication, you can authenticate both device and the user, which I showcase how to do authenticate when how to configure authentication for the device and the user. So we pretty much the IDP itself, the token is presented, and on the pretty much the time of the token is validated, the authentication is enabled, and the whole policy is constantly evaluated, right? And connection is encrypted end to end. We use next generation firewall for inspections and DDoS protection. As we said before, we use network obfuscation. We do micro segmentation at control access layer, and for authorized users, what it means is we specify, as I told you, right? Pretty much at a given user, even you can further segment into which application the user wants to, and under the application, what access you want to give, right? It gives a lot of flexibility, and also between user to user on the same LAN, pretty much it gives you a micro segmentation level. And of course, it does a lateral movement prevention thereby, because even in the same LAN, you're basically every user is protected in its own context, and of course, the compliance is confirmed per se.
So in addition to the ZTNA, what we wanted to talk about further is like there are situations where ZTNA may not be the priority for you now, but what you're looking at is something to first just do a compliance based on all the public applications you guys are using, and that might be a CASB starting point. Or there can be like, okay, you want to control the access with respect to what type of like the URLs, websites, applications people are accessing. So Swift might be the one you may want to do first, URL filtering. So with Versa portfolio or Versa SASE platform, you can start wherever you want to start and then open up more, right? Or just stick with what you have. So we have seen most of our customers who basically started at a point, and most of them have started on ZTNA or Swift first, and then they have enabled other services. Some have been just based on their business requirements, be happy with just using the Swift all the time, or they have been happy using just a firewall as service or ZTNA, right? So whichever thing is priority, we can help you basically get on this path of the SASE platform or SASE journey with your immediate need addressed right away. And then if you want over the years to basically expand, you can do it. Otherwise, be happy with what you have. And we are basically enhancing all these core capabilities all the time. So you will get new capabilities all the time put into these features. That's pretty much we have for today. Any question? That's pretty much it. We can end the slides and we can end the talk. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Uh, I have put in the product walkthrough in the uh, in the oh, there are active. Let me see. So the first question, sorry, we have questions pretty much. Yeah. So Patty, the first question is, how does Versa platform identify shadow IT apps?
So as I said, right, basically you can define apps what are what you need to sanction and what you need to unsanction. So you define those, you customize the apps as pretty much the sanction apps, and you allow access for that. And then unsanctioned apps can be defined as shadow IT apps, and then you can allow rules for that, and then you can give restrictive access based on how the apps need to be defined, and you specify actions around it, saying that hey, what you want to do when user accesses shadow IT apps. Pretty much you can say sanction and the rest is shadow IT or whatever you want to define is based on apps, and that's how you can set actions around it. Hope that answers your question.
Yeah. So next question is there a connection broker to be deployed before the on-premises DC intranet application?
Could you repeat that question, Dheeraj? I couldn't read and understand.
Is there a connection broker that needs to be deployed before the on-premises DC intranet application?
No. So we don't do pretty much our the gateway takes care of all the stuff. You just have to enable the software on your device. That's about it, and you don't have to do anything else. But the entire CASB system, the whole broker services is taken care by the gateway. That's a module we already have deployed and implemented.
Awesome. So I'll answer Joseph and then we'll go upwards. How is this license per user or? So we have flexible licensing, right? So we have per user-based licensing also, but for smaller customers or enterprises, what has worked out well is bandwidth-based pricing, right? So it's more to do with rather than the users, because not everyone is using all the time. People basically go with bandwidth-based pricing because we have the networking fabric. So we are able to bring your cost down very well, keep the performance high, and then satisfy the requirements for all the users. So I will say, definitely fingers back, and we can walk you through it. And we have many proof points which basically have proven that licensing bandwidth based works out very well for customers, and it can be for the private application, internet applications, combined all of them, and then it works on-site, hybrid environment on public cloud, right? So that's there. The next one, Patty, is for you. So there is a VPN client, or you just access a URL. I can answer it, but you go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, there are two ways. We support connectionless VPN as well, or ZTNA, where you can actually don't have to deploy a client, and it pretty much for all web apps you can specify a URL. I mean, we map a URL to URL, and you can access to that URL. But if you really want to go through a VPN client, then of course you have to install a VPN. So we are both kind of VPN less, basically, and a VPN installation aspect built in.
Thank you. Abid, yes, we will share the recording of this session. We'll make sure about it, so it should come to you. Okay. The next one is, do you have a similar solution for branch sites instead of remote users?
Yes. So basically, on the brand side, we can basically ship a device. That's where your pretty much the SASE component of the SD-WAN comes in, and the way our architecture is, we have a same operating system of whatever the software we ship at your branch office is what exactly operates on the gateway as well. So basically, whatever functionality you see in the gateway can be done at the branch as well.
Cool. There is a couple of questions, and we will keep going. So, first question is: does the obfuscated secure access POP is multi-tenant customer basis, and how many users supportable per customer?
It is multi-tenant, and each tenant has a lot of users built in. So we don't. There's no limits per se because we have a huge capacities on our devices. So it's. I mean, there are limits, but the limits are very extreme. So we are good to go for that.
Yeah. Based on the questions, we are enjoying this conversation. I'll just extend it, so just keep going for all the questions. In the continuation for this one itself, from the same company, how do you do micro-segmentation? Is it for application IP address based? Like, can you explain a little bit more on that one, Patty?
Yeah, so pretty much you're bang on. We do pretty much every user, we do at an application level. Under the application, so we do a sub access level per application, and also we do at IP layer as well. Pretty much, so every user itself on the LAN is kind of obfuscated. So pretty much at the application sub access level, also at the user level.
So I will say, no, just to expand, like I know the micro-segmentation came from the IP side of the world, but in the cloud application, as IPs keep changing and people go to hops. So what we do is we basically go in and do an entire stack type of micro-segmentation where you will have the user, you will have the location, you will have all those controls to basically do very specific micro-segmentation, which includes application IP addresses, uh, I'll say organizational, like a tag or something. So you can do tagging based micro-segmentation, which should help you quite a bit. So the next question, does Versa ZTNA support geo-fencing based on end user device location? Yes, yes, absolutely. It is one of the first things which we basically built into the rule. So it will be there and you will be able to see. All this is available in dashboards also. Like when you build your dashboards within our platform, you will be able to see all this, like who is accessing from where, what type of bandwidth they are getting, what type of policies are in play, what type of logs are being created. All that is available. The next one is how are the apps hidden from internet visibility? Ready?
So apps are, when you say internet visibility, I'm not able to understand the question. Could you expand that question, please? That'd be great help.
That is pretty much I have. So we can come back to that one later. But how does this work for hybrid cloud and on-premises environment?
Pretty much the same rule. I mean, you define a policy for either a cloud or in on-prem. The rule applies. It figures out what applications you're accessing for and to which location. So that kind of maps into that. So you define a rule for hybrid apps, and you also define a rule for on-prem. Pretty much the rule applies in a similar context.
And if the question is right, if the question is basically towards like, can we do on-premises installation air gap type of? Yes, we basically provide sovereign SASE, we provide hybrid SASE, so you can run our solution based on the requirement or the companies where you're working and what their requirements are. So we have a lot of success with respect to the government sector and also the financial institutions and also the healthcare industry where the requirements are very stringent with respect to what type of data or what type of software solutions can be deployed or used from outside cloud-based, or they have to basically do it in their data center. So you can have your entire SASE setup, ZTNA setup within your environment and basically manage with our help. And there are variations to it, right? Like you can have some part of it on your on-premises and some part of it outside. There was I'll say, a talk to Goose Allen or someone, like we did that. They basically sponsored it and they did it. So you can basically learn more from that angle. Okay. What protocol does this use? BGP, OSPF?
So we natively implement MPBGP for the SD-WAN. On the protocol, I mean, you can define any routing protocol. We support all routing protocols. We do multiple
Awesome.
VRFs, and each segment we can do VRF. Each tenant we can do VRF. So we have all the options available.
Okay. Patrick also asked the same type of question. Can you explain what your architecture looks like for on-premises app?
So basically, on-prem, it's a device, as we said, right? I mean, if we can install a Versa operating system device, it could be uh, uh, pretty much a hardware, or we can do a VM running on any system. So it runs on a user space. So the way we run is the pretty much ZTNA is the lower stack, then followed by entire security stack. A next-gen firewall, IPS IDS, CASB, DLP, sandboxing, all kind of file filtering, and then finally you exit out with an SD-WAN portfolio where it does, pretty much like QoS, and then it does all kind of policy based forward looking, then application rules, whatnot, and then it exits out. So yeah, that's the overall architecture. So it basically
Okay.
ZTNA, network security, and then SD-WAN stack. That's how it
Okay.
goes.
The next one is, how do you basically calculate the quality of experience from branch to branch perspective, and what are the remedy mechanism available in case of packet loss for voice and data traffic?
So as I said, at SD-WAN offers, we can do application path steering, application steering rule. What means is, let's say we use, in this case, voice as your application. We can define how you want to set up an SLA for that. You can say under the specific jitter value, either you fail out an alternate circuit, or basically use FECs, or packet replication. So there are much of ways to do that. So yeah, all this can be, when in a demo we can kind of showcase all of these things real quick.
And the question, do we have a way to monitor all network traffic from users to destination? Yes.
Yes.
We have our SD-WAN solution. So basically that basically gives you visibility into entire network traffic.
Yeah.
Uh, and then coupled with the security policies, everything, you start to get the full profile with respect to anything which is
Yeah, even for
happening.
SASE, you get to see the entire visibility as well. I mean, for ZTNA, which users accessing what URL, you get end-to-end metrics.
Yeah. In regards to how about our for IoT printer, etc. on the branch side, yes, we do IoT security. You can basically get in there, and then without habit, you should be able to access and remotely secure those devices, because those devices have started to become entry point nowadays for type of insertion of any type of security threat. So we are working with our customers along those lines for IoT security. Okay. Oh, another one. Are there controllers involved for multiple pods?
Multiple POPs.
Pods, PODs.
Whoa. Not
I
sure of the
don't
question,
understand.
but
Yeah,
definitely, as far as the enterprise is concerned, you need not worry about the controllers or anything. It's pretty straightforward. You just deploy only the VPN solution, then rest we all take care. So everything is built in the cloud, so you don't have to do anything else.
yeah. So redundancy, failover, guarantee of network bandwidths, everything, all that is taken care of. For sure.
Yeah.
Any other question? Yes. I think so. I have answered most of the questions for. Uh, okay. And if there are any other questions you want to talk about or know about, let us know. We will be able to spend more time, and we would love to spend more time. As I put some product walkthrough, there are more product walkthroughs available. But many of these questions should be answered through there with respect to visibility. That's where we start. And then how do we create the authentication access, and then how we bring in the groundwork controls. Okay. The solution works on premises exclusive. It can work hybrid, compute in cloud, and then you cloud also. Okay. So based on your requirements, you can go anywhere. That's pretty much it for today. Thank you so much for joining us today. In March, we are planning to do a Gen AI firewall uh, webinar or talk like this, where we are going to basically talk about like how to look into your uses of Gen AI, and then how to build granular policies with respect to uh, controlling not access to the app, but activities in the app, right? Uploading the code, uploading the PI, uploading the user credit card information, things along those lines. Like even before the action is taken, how can you block it with the policies, everything based on the Versa SASE solution. So we would love to see you there. Do you offer learning videos and related certifications? Absolutely, yes. We do that. We have plenty of them. Let me put the link here so that it remains here with all of you guys. But then we will also follow up in the email. I'll put it in the announcements. Okay. So this is one. This is the ZTNA one. I can do multiple announcements. These are the walkthroughs for all our answers. Yeah, we have the lunch videos, we do latest certification, everything is available. So that's pretty much it. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Thanks for taking time to talk to us today. Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.